It's that time of year, folks. Get to the grocery store, buy the eggs, buy the milk, buy the toilet paper, get home. The snow's a-coming. We'll tell you why right after this.
Happening.
And we're back. Yay.
Yeah.
So we decided not to cancel school today, so here we are. Everybody else canceled.
We know all the teenagers woke up to watch the show this morning.
That's
They're finally
right,
out of
yeah,
school and they can watch
yeah.
us.
Audience.
Yeah.
Big crowd this
Because
morning.
Big
for sure.
crowd.
Ready to
Big
watch.
crowd of our high school
We went to school.
demographic.
Yes, I can watch the waffle.
I've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah.
But in honor of the fact that people are interested, I decided to add a weather segment to our show.
Okay, I'm ready.
So,
Oh,
go
got
ahead and
the
put
green
the
screen
forecast
over there.
up for us, Peter. We'll see that.
Oh, yeah.
We've got the forecast
That-
for you.
Maybe possibly.
That tracks.
This is
Yeah.
going to be 2 inches. You know that, right?
That
Probably.
tracks.
Okay, thank you. That's good. Yeah, so that's our forecast for the day.
I like it. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, thanks
it
for
seemed
that
on
thorough
point.
explanation.
No problem.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'll bring it anytime that I
Got a-
can. It's all
Got an Arctic system moving in and some
know,
moisture coming up from the Gulf of America. That's
Yes, that's right.
so Mexico and Canada got involved in this one. So
Yeah.
this is exciting.
There,
You know,
payback for that
Mexico
hockey
and
game.
Canada. Oh man, that was brutal in an awesome way.
Yeah, it really was. Like, we're gonna boo your anthem. Okay, we're just gonna beat you.
We're gonna beat the crap out of you because we're hockey players.
I wish I had watched that game live. I've only seen clips now.
I
but
wish I'd known
I'm
about it
So
ahead of time.
so excited that hockey is back.
Yeah, I know.
Like, because you remember in the '80s, that's
Yeah,
what
it
hockey was.
Yeah, it was a thing.
know.
Like, oh yeah, they'll probably get to a game, but I'm here for the fights.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they banned that
They banned
somewhere
the
in the
fighting?
well, it wasn't.
Well, I know it still
banned.
happened.
It's kind of that unwritten rule, and all of a
Frowned
sudden, that was a part. That was part and parcel of hockey, and now it's like,
fights.
yeah, now it's kind of frowned upon.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
so
awesome.
they were trying to get fighting out of the game, and
Yeah.
Anyway, I much prefer it this way.
Well, I get it, and as a lawyer, I've always kind of questioned it because I mean, if you get in a fist fight just in public,
Yeah.
that's a crime.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I mean, it's like, why is it okay if you're in
I've
a
had
public
this
sporting
thought.
event?
Nothing to see here. Why is the ice red?
Yeah, I mean, hockey, basketball, baseball, football, we've all seen
Yeah.
the fist fights. I mean, that's a crime.
assault. It's assault. Like,
You know, even it's really funny. There was an ordinance in
always thought it's
Springfield
weird, too.
that it was called a fray.
Fray,
A fray.
yeah.
The ordinance of commission a fray, and that was for being in a fight.
Right.
And it's like,
okay.
what if I'm just 100% victim and I just got beat up and I didn't ever throw a punch? No, that's a fray. You were part of the fight. I'm like,
What? What?
yeah.
They
Your-
probably didn't use
your
that charge
ugly
too
face
often.
is what brought this on.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there was also, I think,
Some
Springfield
people
had
just
an
have a
ordinance-
punchable face, Will, and you're one of those people. You know,
I get that.
Oh, gee.
Springfield used to have an ordinance that it was illegal to leave your keys in your car,
yeah,
Yeah.
and because that way you know
You're inviting crime.
you're inviting crime.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
It's going a bit too far.
Yeah, that is kind of silly.
So I don't know.
Fun stuff though.
I know.
But it's just patriotism.
Yeah.
Like it was like you're gonna boo our anthem.
We're going to beat you up.
We're gonna beat you up. Yeah, I mean, this is what's gonna happen.
Babylon Bee posted Canadians boo their future national anthem.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw that. Oh,
Beth
it's
says,
so
good morning,
good.
Waffle. And look at those beautiful tacos. A bit less pressure for Chris.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Beth.
Less oversight.
I'm happier with
So,
tacos. I think we all are.
I was
you know,
here
it's-
early this morning, and it was all down over there. And I thought, okay, so I put nails in.
Ah, good.
So it's now
Nice.
hanging on nails. So we and our good friend Alex Bryant can switch out that side. This is still on because everybody loves that picture. That's a
nobody
Joe,
has any issue with
that's a
the
Joe
hay bale.
Thomas special.
Yeah.
The patriotic hay bale with the bombs bursting in air.
That's
right
just
behind it.
that's just majestic.
It's America.
and I believe is that Jamestown? Is that?
Yeah.
That's going to look
yeah.
very different here
Yes,
before
it
long.
is. 2 houses are out of the
Yeah,
ground.
it's about to be 3.
Yeah,
So,
look at that. If you haven't driven through Jamestown, you should come out and get a cup of coffee because
Like
Story's open
dandelions.
till
Story's open till at least. Well, we said noon. We'll
Ish.
see. Yeah, hopefully we'll be open till noon. Come get some
understand,
coffee before
Thursday night is
before we
game
shut
night.
her down.
yeah.
Yeah, game night this Thursday, and then next Thursday, a week from Thursday.
Yep.
Sign up ahead of time. It's the cornhole tournament.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, all the money
Dun,
raised
dun,
last time we did this, we raised money for Safe Haven. Now,
Uh-huh.
this time we're raising money for an orphanage we're building in Bolivia.
Well, that's wonderful.
So yeah, come if you love cornhole. It's indoor, by the way. Some people didn't know that last time. Like it's
They're like, we don't want to do
a little
that.
cold to be out there.
I was going to ask.
So yeah, indoor. We clear out the auditorium and
right.
yeah, good times. It was fun
Very
last time.
cool. That's good. That's
Any
good.
U.S. aid money for your?
We're gonna apply. We're gonna
Yeah.
put our we're gonna write our grant.
Throw your hat in the ring.
Yeah,
So
see
I
if we
think
can get some of that
you
US
need-
aid.
You need $30 million to build it, $3 million to build it, and $27 million for oversight and administration.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask for 4.7 trillion. Is what I was.
Well, apparently it's out there somewhere.
It's out there floating around in the ether.
It's not at my house.
It's.
No.
I checked all my pockets
I
and
I
all my
looked.
old coats.
We looked. We don't have it. We
We-
couldn't find it. We were
yeah.
going to give it back if we found it.
Here's an interesting thought. Okay, so
Holy
we've
cow.
been in how much debt? How much debt are we in as a country?
40. Is it 42 trillion?
Yeah,
Now,
something
what
like
is it?
that. Let me check the clock.
Wonder why.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why.
What? What? Seriously, think about that.
Well, here's
terrifying.
Here's one thing I think people get very confused on. Just because it's a good thing doesn't mean it's a government thing.
That is right.
And that's a little adopted. Just because it's a good thing doesn't mean it's a God thing.
Yeah.
But just because it's a good thing doesn't mean it's a government thing. I mean, it's good that things were supported. Third world countries are getting aid. That doesn't mean that it's the government's job
Right.
to do it.
Correct.
Primarily because we may not all, as a country, agree where that money should go.
Yep.
And so it's better if we just don't give it as a government. If you want your money to go to that project, then you give your money
Right.
to that project. And then we all make our own decisions about where we spend our charity instead of whichever party happens to be in charge favoring their favorite charity, whatever it may be. I don't know. Just a little thought
this
from
is a
hillbilly.
passion of mine. I mean, we have people all the time talk about how they hate taxes.
Yeah.
But then when they look at something in their community that their community lacks,
Yeah.
they're like, well, why doesn't the city build that?
Yeah.
Why doesn't,
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
'cause that's
100%.
taxes. Yeah.
Right. And you've done a great job with Friends of the Park. I know you stepped away from that, here
Yeah.
recently, but for years you were talking about community funding. Like, hey, let's do this.
Let's do this.
Let's not wait for tax dollars. Let's pool our resources
I
and
think we
do what we're passionate about.
need to
Yeah.
get back to the idea. U.S. national debt, 36 trillion, 495 billion, 200 million, and then it's going too fast and the hundreds of thousands up for me to keep track
Yeah.
of. But
Have you ever seen the counter? Yeah, there you're on it.
I've got the app.
It's just just rolling right
The
now.
Doge clock is now at 108 billion that they have saved, not including this 4.3 trillion, which they can't save. It's already spent.
It's spent.
It's
Yeah, we
spent.
just don't
Yeah,
know
it's
what it
already
was spent
spent.
on.
We just don't know what.
4.3. I've been saying 4.7.
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Crazy.
Whatever it is.
Trillions,
Yeah.
millions, gazillions, whatever.
I just can't. I mean, we're talking about unfathomable amounts of money, and it's like
Well, a lot of times
here's
people- Go ahead.
the problem though. Here is one thing that's an interesting thought. Okay. So basically, Doge is cutting the fat, right? We're in the middle of a gigantic fat cutting session.
Well, let me correct you. Sorry, Doge is not cutting anything.
Well, they're
they
investigating.
are auditing.
They're auditing,
systems and books,
They make recommendations.
and they're making
they make
recommendations.
And
recommendations,
the
and
actual
then
elected and appointed officials.
the government.
I felt that was really important because
that
there
is
is
good. I
there's a
said that
group that
They don't
is
have that.
all about Doge being too powerful, and they're doing
They have zero power.
zero power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Just
looking-
oversight. Yep.
Which, by the way, under the Constitution, they have every right to do.
Correct.
As
Sorry.
you or
Continue.
I.
Yeah.
As a you or I.
I do think it's possible, and this is me. I'm not being like a negative Nancy about this situation, but we have a lot of change happening really fast, and we have a lot of people who have relied on government fat for a really long time.
Yep.
And in my mind, I think there's a very possible chance of this triggering like a recession situation because of this.
Oh,
Good.
And
100%.
my 100% fear on that is what's going to happen is this is going to go hot and heavy, and then we're just going to change president again in 4 years because everybody who's been living off the government fat is going to be like, well, that was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the other side.
I had this exact conversation with a group of friends Sunday night because amputation is violent.
Oh, yeah.
And it will save your life, but it's also going to change your life
Yeah.
significantly. And so a friend of mine pointed out, he goes, I think you're right. And I think we're probably going to vacillate every 4 years for a while.
I think so,
Like
too.
it's just kind of where we're going to be in the American presidential landscape is that every 4 years we're just going to have the other party in power.
I hope not.
I
Because
hope
the-
not
the
too,
other
but you
question
can see
is-
how we could get
Oh, I
there.
totally see how-
Because the next, he doesn't have 18 months, right? Trump has said, I've got 100 days, right? Don't think in terms of 18 months
Yeah.
to the midterms, 100 days. And all that he's doing is it leaves a wake behind.
Yeah.
So in a sense, things have to get worse before they can get better.
100%.
And
yeah.
when things get worse, he'll get blamed rather than applauded. But at some point, drastic measures had to be taken.
Since the
Yeah.
mid-90s, whenever I've talked about this, I've always talked about doing something like this in terms of surgery. I mean, it's like if you got a cancer, you have to cut it out. That hurts. It's bad. You
violent.
hurt for a while. You're probably going to take some healthy tissue when you do it. They always do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take a little healthy tissue
It's
around to make sure they
life-changing.
get the whole cancer out. It's life-changing. It hurts. It's uncomfortable, but it's the only way to save the patient. And you hope that quality of life will get better. And that's the thing about a country as opposed to a human body. The human body is very resilient. The country actually has the ability to recover completely, 100%. It can become more healthy than it was to begin with. The human body doesn't necessarily have that type of resiliency. But we've got to hang on. We've got to get through it all. And
Yeah,
I
and
just
I'm
hope
a
that
little
we
worried
can.
our attention span isn't enough.
Well said. That's a
Yeah.
good way to say it.
That's what
But it's very interesting. The caveat is like, so we're in essence saving all this money. I mean, they're cutting government programs and it's saving money. And it's throwing it back into the budget because, and the budgets are made, the money sits there, and then I don't exactly know how they pay the budgets out. And I mean, that's really not that interesting of a
finding
conversation,
out.
but yeah. But so then the money's going to kick back into the whole budget, right? Is the idea. And then what are they going to do with it?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the other, I don't know.
Right now, they're just, as far as I can tell, they're just not spending it,
Yep.
which
Yeah.
is what we need to do is not spend. We don't need to reallocate it. We need to pay this debt off if possible.
Well, see, that's my thing. We're going to pay the debt, and that's going to cut everybody's attention span about in half because they're like, well, they saved all this money and I didn't get a check.
Well, yeah. Well, Americans can't pay their own debt off.
They can't pay
Right.
their own, and they're living in more debt than they ever have before.
What's been on my mind is, all the campaign process or promises through the last several decades, and everybody panders to the poor and the middle class about cutting your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, legitimately, with the money we're talking about that is being wasted,
Yeah.
if you had not spent that money, you didn't need to take a penny from low-income earners, middle-class earners. And I'm not saying that's the solution, but quite frankly, the government didn't need your money. They just wasted whatever they
Every
took.
single person that's ran for president
it's disgusting.
since Reagan has campaigned and said, I'm going to make the government more efficient. I'm going to cut spending. Democrats, Republicans alike have all said that. We got one guy finally did it, and everybody's freaking out.
Nick Reed this morning, I was driving in, listened to him, and he actually compiled, and it started with Clinton, and it was Obama, and it was Biden, then back to Obama, and then back to Biden, and he had clips spliced together of them all saying they were going to do exactly what Trump is doing with Doge right now.
Exactly.
And so it's really fascinating. The vitriol that is being thrown toward him and toward Doge when, quite frankly, they've all promised they would do it, and he's just finally doing it.
Someone's finally doing it, and we're glad that
the
he is.
the whole concept that they shouldn't have some sort of independent audit. But what they don't understand is people are freaking out about Doge, but they're not understanding that this is an independent audit and that's the way this is supposed to work.
Yeah, it's the
I
way it
literally didn't take a job one time that I was offered because it was an auditing position that I could potentially make bonuses on. and that made
Incentivized to find problems.
no.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the company.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me because I mean you shouldn't have any sort of incentive based auditing as an auditor.
Yeah.
Right.
As an auditor, you should
You
just
get a salary,
get paid. Yeah.
and you do your job, and you have performance and blah 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 reviews. But it's really unclear the path.
Yeah.
Like there's very positive things happening. I have no doubt about that at all.
My mind is just blown. Just even what you described, it really is analogous to what we're dealing with in the government, because the incentive should be, and Lauren, if you come up with solutions,
Wow.
there's your bonus.
I
Rather
Yeah.
than finding the problem, you get a bonus for that.
well, I
Create a plan for the problem
Yeah.
to overcome, and there's your bonus.
Yeah.
You just saved us, $2.3 million. We're going to give you a slice of that.
I think
because
a
you
lot
came
of
up with a plan.
the reason people have trouble thinking about this is because we don't understand, and even if we do, we don't agree on what appropriate government expenditures are.
100%.
We don't
yes.
understand that. And,
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's important to go back to fundamentals. And you look at the fundamentals of Western government theory in the way that we have always done this. The government is kind of interesting because my son, Jack, he asked me about 2 weeks ago because he had to write an essay. He sends me a text. He's like, Dad, what's the proper role of government? I'm like, well, glad you asked, son. Thank you for asking.
I'd never thought of that.
How much time do you have?
like
All of a sudden, the waffle turns on, and Will's like, let me tell you something.
I'll explain to you how the proper role of government is to protect its citizens' life, liberty, and property, as described by John Locke in his two treatises, which is a fantastic work. Gotta love John Locke. And our founding fathers didn't really want to say it that way, so they said pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
But they meant the same thing.
Yeah.
And those are really the only appropriate functions of government: protect the citizens' life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, whatever that is. Whenever we start spending money for other things, we're outside of our role of proper government, and that's where we're going to have disagreement about where to spend them, and that's why we're going to have fights.
Well, you're talking
Yeah.
about values here. And so, it's okay. So in the church world, so with Story Church, we can have our values printed. We can have our mission statement, our vision statement. But if you want to find out how true you are to that, show me your budget.
Yeah.
Right? And so, again, is it just something we say, or is it something we actually do? So where did the dollars go, right? And so that's something we're always talking about. So we budget every year based on our values.
Yeah.
And when you talk about that from the United States government standpoint, our values have shifted so much. Sure, we have these documents,
Right.
but they're being ignored.
Correct.
These
Yeah.
documents spell out, the preamble is spelling out what is our value system, and yet we don't really value those words anymore.
We used to memorize the
We used to memorize it, right? That
Yeah.
used to drive how we thought about it. So if you think about the back and forth, the vacillating, we talk about every 4 years, you might potentially have a different party in place that are so vastly different in their value system, you're going to have this problem. So there is no value-driven budgeting. You're just throwing money here, throwing money there, and it's changing with the wind. And so, no wonder we're in such a mess.
You also the size, right? Size of these things affects every aspect of them. It is so as an individual, I can look at my money and I can tell you exactly where it's going if I'm closely paying attention.
Right.
Think of a single individual who signs up for a gym membership 5 years ago that they never use, and it's an automatic draft out of their account, and they don't go through and balance our checkbooks anymore. Nope. Checkbooks anymore? Is that how you say it? Yeah, checkbook.
What's a checkbook?
I don't know. It seems weird saying it.
Yeah.
They don't balance it anymore.
They're paying for 4 streaming services they never use.
You did a hand soap subscription and blah blah blah. Do you know the number one thing that gets overlooked on mail when somebody moves? You have any idea what it is?
I don't.
It has become very common for about 2-3 months after someone moves for me to get a call, a subscription box from Amazon or wherever
Pets.com.
has shown up at the door of the new owner, and the other person has not changed that for 2 or 3 months.
That's why I don't
And
move.
they're not even missing it.
That's a good call.
I
That's
haven't
the way to
moved in
stop that.
30 years.
So
It's the same
I don't
place.
know. Is Netflix sending me DVDs anymore? I haven't.
I think you
I
can
can't
still
see
do that.
Can you really?
I think so.
I don't know where they're
That's how I
going.
first
They're-
started.
they're still going to
using
Dexter.
Netflix was on renting the DVDs.
But yeah, so this is just an individual has to be making daily decisions to keep track of their money.
Right.
And then, okay, let's add a whole layer to this. You're a wealthy person and you have an account, you on basically staff, accountant, lawyer, probably publicist or, media person. Regardless, you've got somebody helping with your social medias.
Right.
And then you've got a dog walker and someone that does your laundry and a cook and all these things and housekeeper, okay? You're going to assume that every single one of those people is responsibly taking care of your money.
Right.
Well, at least the accountant.
Still paying the dog walker.
That's the one I'm watching.
Still paying the dog walker. We had a dog in 2
Haven't had a
years.
dog
You
in
know.
2 years. We
So-
switched to cats 6 months ago.
Yeah. I mean, I think about that. Like if you,
But that's a rich person. Now we're talking
Yeah.
about a government,
yeah,
like exponentially more.
with exponentially more people
Yeah.
involved.
So we got a comment, but because of where it is on the screen, I can't read it.
As a senator, congressman, or woman, I can't read it.
Okay, as a
Take
senator,
it away.
congressman, or woman, your job is not to see how many millions you can amass before you are voted out.
That's
I totally
true.
agree with
Yeah,
that.
I posted
100%.
a list of.
I saw that. I read it. I read every one of them.
all of the congressmen that have become rich while
Yeah.
they were in.
Do you know what's
office.
sad? Is
We've
I
all
was
known
looking at
that,
that
though.
list.
No, we've all known that, but we don't care or something. I don't.
something,
I don't get
yeah,
it. I don't
apathy.
understand.
I was reading that list, and the thought that crept into my head, and this is weird, the thought that crept into my head was, well, maybe they've earned this money other ways too. And then I'm like, it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, this is supposed to be civil service.
They're still profiting off of their position.
They're profiting off of their position, and the only way to fix it is limiting the time that they can do that. Because you're never going to
Yeah.
fix the human desire to help themselves.
Yeah.
You're
So
not.
Here's an interesting.
That's why Adam Smith was brilliant. He designed a system where we expect that. But continue.
Well, I was just thinking about how, for the first time, really, well, now the second term, but second time in history, we have a wealthy man who he didn't get into the position to get wealthy. He was already wealthy.
He lost wealth.
He's lost
Yeah,
wealth,
that-
right?
and that- and, yeah.
But it stirs up an interesting, like, if I hire somebody who's hard up for cash and put them in a position where they're dealing with money, potentially I'm putting them in a position where they might compromise their values.
temptation there.
Yeah, the temptation is
100%,
there, right?
yeah.
And so you want somebody who has done well for themselves and knows how to do well with money, so that you can trust them
Yeah.
with money. And so I'm not saying every president ought to be wealthy or every congressman ought to already be
Look,
wealthy.
I'm not saying every rich person is trustworthy either.
Well, 100%,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. But it is an interesting dynamic. If you put somebody in office that has never had money and all of a sudden they have people knocking on their office door
The
saying,
temptation is
hey,
it's too much.
it's too much, right? Like,
It's
hey,
too
I
much.
understand you're the constituents of your,
I would
the
say
people you
this.
represent, right? In Southwest Missouri, I understand they need this. Well, I can help you with that, and then they come bringing money. It's just going to be way too tempting.
I think you're really close to hitting the nail on the head, because I think you're right, but it's not. I don't think it's a rich or poor issue. It's the only thing are we dealing with a person who's been tested?
Yeah.
Has this person been tested in positions of authority, positions of trust, positions where
Stewardship is what you're getting at.
Yeah, and if they've been tested, because if you've never been in a situation where you have a lot of control and a lot of ability to do some really shady things, you don't know what that temptation's like.
Oh
Yep.
no!
Yep.
And you can't even say you know.
You can't even say that you know. And
No.
so, I'm an attorney. I've had some opportunities.
Sure.
Some
Sure.
things come up.
Yeah.
You could gouge, you could whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so it's I don't want to judge myself correctly or incorrectly here, but it's good to know that after 30 years of practice, there's been some opportunities, and you've
That you
had the
didn't take,
opportunity
yeah.
to demonstrate and build your own integrity.
Yep.
And go, I could do this, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to do the right thing.
100%.
Well, and if you're not, and this truly, I really believe this to my core. If you are not raised with certain values, and not only said seen, seen in practice throughout your childhood, the likelihood of you being able to develop those on your own is very low.
Very low.
Well, and
Very
it can
low.
happen.
It can happen. It
And
does
it does happen. We should be fair and say that.
It does happen, and those people are the best.
They're awesome.
Right? They're amazing.
I don't know if other people think like this or not, but when I'm in my own head or thinking about things and stuff, you see some questions posed like if you could do X, Y, Z, and you knew 100% you were never going to get caught,
Right.
would you? Do it?
Yeah.
Ew, no.
And my thought process, whatever that is always, it's not about getting caught. It's like I couldn't live with myself.
Couldn't live with myself.
And that's it. I mean, I think every one of us has some kind of a childhood experience where you did do something because nobody was looking.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And if you were raised with those values and you've been taught better, for me, it's not just some otherly values. This is my relationship with God. This is my accountability before the Lord. That is what spoke to my heart. And I thought, I feel awful on the inside. I'm hiding something.
Tears me up.
I'm hiding something from the people that love me and take care of me. And that's not a good feeling. And so you learn that in your childhood and you go, I want to do the right thing because I don't like the feeling of guilt and pressure and hiding.
Condition. And the truth of us and really the world is that there's no such thing as not getting caught because there's a God that knows everything. And so we know
lie to
there's a God
ourselves.
that sees.
Yeah.
We're lying to ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, I mean, those are the bad people.
Even in
right?
a vacuum, just hopefully more applicable to people out there. It's just, can you live with yourself? With
Right.
the knowledge that you
That's more
did such a
torture. The
thing?
sleepless nights are more torture than
It's just not worth it. There's no
It's not-
dollar
it's
amount
just
that's worth
not
it.
worth it.
Yeah.
And I think the older you get, the more experience you get. There's because you can look at that's a little transgression, but the reward is good. But the older you get, you realize there's no such thing.
Yeah.
It's the integrity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Personal integrity.
Well,
is
and
more valuable than anything else.
Self-examination is so important, and some people, I think, inherently have that, or at least do it more than other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be real careful with this surface level reward stuff, because that is the biggest distraction to inward looking of, am I doing the right thing on, it's not just a daily basis, it's a second by second basis. Am I putting my seatbelt on? Am I, making sure my kids have had a decent meal at least a couple of times this week? Some days they're going to have chicken nuggets.
Maybe
but
you should raise the bar on that one, Warren.
yeah. I mean, am I, should I let them watch that thing on YouTube
Right.
that is kind of, And guys, it's become so much harder because we have so many more outside influences than we used to.
Yeah.
Period. And that is a fact. I about said the D word. That is a fact. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
And we as a society have so much more outside influences on us every single second of every day. I got to be careful with what profiles I follow.
Yeah.
I have to be careful with, what pictures I post or what picture, and because then you see the stuff and you're, how the thoughts creep in and you can try to control those best as you can, but it's tough.
Yeah.
And it is not for the faint of heart. This is a tough life, no doubt.
Well, self-examination is so important. It's easy to point fingers. I think that the classic, is the prophet Nathan coming to David, David's like, "Well, lock him up. Who is this man? You are that man. And it's how many times have you been there where you're frustrated with somebody else for something they're doing, and then you realize, I do that too.
Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah.
Character. That's what we're around, right? So we need people with character in office.
Character.
That I can't read.
Let's see here. There's some that seem to be able to do things that are not right and have no conscious feelings about the outcome for others. Those are the dangerous people. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Those are the monsters. The real scary
there are
people.
people
Some level, there's a sociopath, psychopath component to that, but then there's
people that want to win at all costs. That bothers me.
I agree.
If my success has to come at the expense of someone else, that's a character issue.
Big time.
Can
Yes.
I seek success and still want success for other people that maybe, let's say like in a business world, are competing with me? I don't have to try to take somebody down in order to win. Can I can I win and also want them to win? You know,
it's
like
okay,
that.
too,
That's a character thing.
to have a sense of professionalism about
Yeah.
your industry, right?
Yes.
Because there's different ways to approach that.
Sure.
And, a level of expectation of care for clients and different things like that, or just knowledge of the industry. It's just real. And this thought just occurred to me. There's a lot of us that probably think like we never had it as tough as the people that dealt with World War II or World War I or the Dust Bowl or the Great Depression, all this stuff. But we have different problems than they
Oh,
did.
yeah. You don't think that phone in front of you is a dust bowl?
Oh,
I mean,
that's a real good point.
You want to talk about some serious drought?
Yeah.
People are zombies because of their
Yes.
devices,
I see there's this interesting statistic. I think you see people in America like, the 1%, they're always wanting to get to 1%. I just want to go, you know what? If you live in America, you are the 1%.
That's a good
For
point.
the whole
Wake up.
world. Like every
Wake
single
up.
one of
Yeah.
you, you're in the top 1% of the
Come
world.
to Bolivia
so-
with me this summer.
So,
Yeah.
cool your jets.
yeah,
Dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
Get off your high
You got
horse.
it pretty darn good if you're inside these
Yeah.
borders, regardless. Especially if you're a
Absolutely.
citizen.
All right, we've dug deep.
Yeah,
Let's
we
go
have.
6 minutes of
Saturday
not
night.
so deep.
What's going on in town?
Hats off to kids. Wildcat Gala coming up. White
It's
River
happening.
Room.
Wait, that's this weekend?
It's 22nd. Yeah.
There's also a breakfast for the class of one of our upcoming classes. I'm not going to say it right because I'm not involved in it, but there is a breakfast out there floating around
25,
for
26, 27, or 28 would be my guess.
I don't know. It may be 29. Does that make
29?
sense? What year is
Those would
it?
be 8th graders, wouldn't
It
they?
is.
Yeah, it is.
25.
I think it's for the 8th graders.
well, the 29.
Yeah.
There you go. Class
So there is a
29.
pancake breakfast going on.
Holy cow,
Yep.
they're going to graduate like 40 years after me.
That's funny.
It took me a while to do the math even.
Yeah, that's.
There's pancake breakfast coming up. There's a farm breakfast coming up. These are all things that you can go like on the Rogersville residence page or your community pages and find them. There's the galas coming up, gala, however you say that. PTA Boosterthon fundraiser, our biggest fundraiser of the year, launched today. And guess what? In the biggest snowstorm of the decade. So that'll be fun. So I know all of the students are watching this right now.
all of them.
So
set their alarms.
So instead of selling candy bars or magazines or candles or whatever, PTA does basically a digital fundraiser. The kids get to do cool events or things at school. They get to bring home prizes, and they're ultimately competing to silly string the principals and have a pizza
So if
party.
you're selling, you should post your link on in a comment to this waffle show.
Yes. So
Get it all out there.
get it all out there. So that started today. It's an online deal. Register at mybooster.com and share the link so we can raise funds for PTA, which go to all kinds of things. We're currently preparing a list of all the things that PTA supports through our students and
Doge
teachers.
will be coming to audit the PTA.
They're welcome to
That's
do
They're on
that.
their way.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Check,
to.
hey, check your pockets.
I'll have to. That's a good.
If you've
That's,
got that 4.7 trillion, 4.7
yeah, we
they
don't.
found.
That's a good. That's a good question to ask yourself if you're running a nonprofit or a officer of a nonprofit right now. What would Doge think about my books?
Yeah.
WW.
WWW.
What would Doge do?
What-
You raise a good point. We just, we started Legacy Prep School a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
About a year ago, honestly, we started it. And we had our first budget round in approval, and a couple of the board members, I'm president, said, so we're going to do that budget discussion. That'll be part of the closed session, part of the meeting, right? I'm like, no. Like, what do you mean we're going to discuss salaries? I'm like, we're not discussing people's performance. I said, what we pay our people is public information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all
it should
public.
be.
So this budget will be discussed, voted on in our open session. And we did, and there were parents there, and it was glorious.
As much transparency as you can appropriately offer is
100%.
the way forward, especially,
Yeah.
I think, if you're publicly traded, obviously, but especially if you're a nonprofit, if you expect people to give, you better be abundantly clear on your books.
Yes.
A good example, Story Church. I mean, we are we just celebrated 8 years in the fall.
Oh, that's wild.
It is
That's
wild,
great.
right? And so,
Yeah.
but over time, things kind of, we don't have that category. We do have this category. So you have to, we almost did an audit last year. We didn't mean to.
Yeah.
We did
Yeah.
pretty much a full-on review that was like this much short of an audit. By the time we done it, we might as well have just had the audit.
Yeah.
But we just found it wasn't anything inappropriate or wrong. It was just
Change.
cluttered.
Yeah.
And what happens is you start out with all the great intentions, and next thing you know, things get kind of jumbled up. And if you're not
somebody put that.
yeah, and if you're not careful, then that does open yourself up to problems. And what you'll find in a nonprofit is you'll find people that will want to come on board for their own personal gain.
100%.
And not for the original intentions.
At least that doesn't ever happen in the federal government.
Yeah. So nonprofits are very susceptible to fraud and
well, I mean,
embezzlement,
that's
those sort
part
of things.
The fact. There's a whole lot of nonprofits out there who have been functioning off of funds.
Well, think about how it works. We know Lauren. We trust Lauren.
Yeah.
And you've proven yourself to have good character.
Yeah.
But none of us are above, temptation, so you just have to stay above board in everything you do.
It's like when, you hear like, oh, the city clerk stole,
Right.
$5 million. How did that happen?
It started with a paperclip.
Her husband got cancer, or, she needed a vacation, and boom.
I took a whole
crazy.
box of pins home and nobody noticed. And next thing you know, it
happened.
Nobody's paying attention. I can do more than that. So,
Until they are.
Until they are.
Yeah.
And Elon shows up.
And Elon shows up with his 19-year-old interns.
Doge do. Keep it in mind.
I wonder what those guys and gals feel like. I don't know if they're guys or girls. I don't know, but
They're all guys.
awesome.
We've seen their pictures.
I haven't even looked, but I
They're
wonder
exactly what you think they would be.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're feeling right now. They're probably not. They're probably just robot doing what they do. That's that personality.
Then they're going back to playing Diablo 4 with
Yeah.
Elon.
I just got
That's why they work so fast. They want to get to their gaming.
That's
They're
right.
like,
it's like
I really got a game.
I resemble that remark.
yeah, I know you do.
I need a Code Red Mountain Dew in a game.
I know what you're doing here when I see your truck here late at night. He got his work done. Now he's playing.
That's right. we got to go. Stop by the grocery store and pick up all the French toast.
Whatever you need.
I'm picturing us walking out. There's already 2 foot
I know,
out there.
right,
Like we came
stroll
in with
out
a
of here.
dusting
What
and
if
a
Alex is
fargo.
here?
I have to shovel down to the other end of the
I
building.
hope Alex makes it and has a good show here in about 30 minutes.
He'll do it.
But anyway, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Blessings.